Hi, Lorna. Thank
Hello,
you so much.
hello.
Thank you so much for being here and accepting the invite to share your wealth of knowledge with everyone listening today. Um,
Here,
Today,
Lindsay. Yeah, I love being here with you. So this is really great, and I'm excited for what's going to come from and through our conversation.
thank you so much. Um, yeah, today I just wanted to introduce an idea, maybe do things a little bit differently, and start off with an intention from each of us in terms of, I guess, the energy we'd like to put forward into our conversation today.
Mm, I
I'll
like
let you start.
it. And you had messaged that before, and what really came, and it continues to just really feel alive. It's to enjoy, to have fun, clarity of message, clarity of listening and receptivity, being witness to life flowing and expressing as us, and an open heart portal.
So beautiful. Thank you.
Mhm.
And I will just add the intention to feel more accepting of ourselves and our true essence for us and anyone enjoying this conversation today.
Mm, beautiful. It's beautiful.
So, thank you so much again for sharing your time and being present here today. I would like to start by just asking for a brief introduction of
Mm,
yourself and who you are and what you do.
okay. Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. So me, I am a. Hmm, seems like sometimes we often start with the title. What's my title? It's just kind of like I'm here. Here I am in this experience, and in my life journey, I get to be in woman form. I get to be a mom, a partner to my husband. I get to work with amazing people in my work as a somatic sexologist and as a spirit and sex alchemist of the feminine led life. And I love speaking. That's 40 years ago when I sat at a Christian women's club actually, and there was this inspirational speaker, the motivational speaker, and I sat there with my little 3-month-old baby, sleeping, and I had this awareness as this woman was there, and I was just being mesmerized by what she was sharing. And to this day, I have no idea what she was talking about, but I do remember it was inspiring. But the awareness that came was, that's what I'm going to do. Someday, that's what I'm going to do. And yeah, and it's been with me these 40 years. It's stayed with me. And now it's kind of in these last 2 years, it kind of, okay, I'm speaking now. And at the time, I would not have had any idea what I'm speaking about. And the fact that I'm speaking about sex and spirit and bringing everything together into our wholeness within us would not have been even on my radar. And yet it's just the most natural thing because of my own journey. So here I am, and I'm excited for what's going to come as we talk today.
Wow. I'm really excited to learn more about you too, because I know little pieces, but seeing more of this puzzle all put together. Wow. Okay. Exciting. So, a current or a common theme that comes up a lot on this channel or this podcast is authenticity and um, people showing up in their uniqueness and being okay with it. So, I would really like to ask how you notice when people show up in their true identity, in their truthful and most authentic selves.
Mm, such a It's a really potent question, Lindley. I love that you're asking this. In my experience, how it shows up is where this it's coming from that place of that inner knowing, that inner authority. It's not. Um, and I'm going to just really backtrack. It seems like an aside. When I used to teach school and as a school teacher, I got to teach the kids cursive writing, and and I used to show them how to do it, and then I would show them bad examples. And so that they saw how to do it. And then when I did it the other way, they would be able to get, no, no, it's not that. So we had fun with it. And then I would go back and reinforce how to do it. And so this aspect of we've been taught to look outside of ourselves, to look outside of for permission, for pleasure, for partner, for authority, for that validation, all of those ways where we sort of have that lens of, am I okay? Am I doing the right thing? All of those things. And so when it seems the authentic part shows up is where there's that, it's coming from within. It's not that it can be. So, and I say that thing is because it's not about, we get to learn what the, I hesitate to say it, what the true way is for us rather than the other way, if you will, by its contrast, and to be able to say, oh, it's not that. Oh, I thought I had to look outside of myself. So when somebody's coming from within and it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, or everybody else is doing it a certain way, whether it's in childhood and there's peer pressure, or in our online world of what these businesses, this is the way to do it, and it's just kind of like, what's my true way? That I don't need validation, because it's just, this is what rings true, this is when I feel aligned and true within.
Mm. Hmm. Would you agree that's where a lot of creativity and artwork comes from? Is that truth?
And interestingly, sometimes also in that contrast, that changing of the tides and what's it like, and that's where it's kind of, I felt this, and this, and from there comes, yes, when we connect into that, and that flow, that sometimes that those rich dark colors of the tapestry or the paint colors, that create that contrast. So really being embracing of, wow, I thought I needed to look outside of myself. Wow, that's amazing. And so it just really gives us this richness to our life experience.
It feels good just to hear you talking about this. It's just such a beautiful way to put it. I also wanted to ask, do you feel the environment plays a factor? You were saying, um, it's not so much about external validation, it's really about a feeling within. But are there any environments that can be conducive or supportive to that inner standing? Or are there some environments that can be kind of harmful or detrimental to it? Or what
Mm,
ways do you think the environment can help?
some really great questions. And you keep so beautifully using that word that I love to word as well, is that word feel, to feel. And and again, because we've often been taught, don't feel this, don't feel that, it's too dangerous to feel this, it's too intense. Oh, or you're a girl, don't feel this, you're a boy, don't feel this. So many ways where we've been taught to not feel. And that oftentimes, again, from my experience and the way that I look at it, the way that I live it, the way that I teach it, is that everything around us plays its role in helping us to, maybe for a time, to shut down what we're feeling or to feel certain things. And then in people's life journey, there often comes this place where everything around us sometimes plays now the opposite, bring back. So where we've been taught to shut down and look outside, those various things around here can start to point us back to, bring us back into our experience. Here's a bit of an example. Um, Sometimes when we think about families, we think that there's a whole family, a good family, a healthy family, a close family, a dysfunctional family. We use all these different labels for what families are. And I say that every family is perfectly in place for each person to be able to ultimately find and live their truth. So whatever role that family is playing, whether it's about feeling what it's like to be in a close family, it's perfectly supporting that person's life story, that life journey. And of that even plays its critical, perfect, beautiful role in bringing us to where we are right now in the journey.
Amen. Whew. This is a very encompassing question. The word feel comes up so much when I'm around you because I can't help but feel when I'm speaking with you, even prior to speaking with you. It's just, um, yeah, almost this warmth my body gets. It's very much the energy I feel when I'm around you, and I appreciate it so much. Um, one final question on this topic is because oh man, I appreciate all the times I was able to ask for your perspective from an educational point of view as well. What piece of advice would you give to children um, in terms of walking a path of their innermost authenticity and encouraging that?
Mm, it's a beautiful, beautiful question. Would you like me to answer it in response to the children or parents or both?
I guess because parents would be the ones listening to this, kind of with them in mind of receiving it, but ultimately for
For the children. Uh, when I mentioned that about the role that our families play for us, sort of coming at it from another direction is, and as you know, my work in the realm of sexuality is really looking at, and this applies overall because we come from sex, so sex is pretty central to who we are. Our sexuality, our erotic energy, if you will, that life force energy. That because it's an area where we have so much been shut down or told it's not okay to experience, to feel, to explore, all of those things, that that's our creativity. And I mean, it's a creative aspect of who we are. And all of our creativity, our ability to relate, to respond, to express, all comes from that sexual, that sexual life force energy.
the sacral.
And it's not just about this act of sex, right? It's so much more than that, right? And again, Audre Lorde's quote: "We tend to think of the erotic as a quick, tantalizing sexual arousal. I speak of the erotic as that deepest life force energy that moves us in a fundamental way." So, as parents, when we have been disconnected from our sexuality in one way or another, from one means or another, then it often happens that we pass that along to our children. And so different ways where we either protect our children or we impose our own experiences, our own judgments, our own fears on how we then teach our children. And again, I say it's not just about sex, it's about how we do, sort of that saying, right? If you've heard, how we do one thing is how we do everything in life. And so this piece of, as parents, number one, I would say, is be aware of our own judgments, our own fears, our own inhibitions, our own restrictions, our own confusions and shame and guilt. And from that place, even without having everything all together, it can be just that awareness creates that openness within which now we can support our children in being authentic. And it comes back, I would say, to something simple as consent, teaching our children consent instead of saying, and I know that as parents, and I know this as a parent and as a grandparent, that there's times where, yeah, this is what we're doing, and you know, these are some things that need to get done. But to do that in a way that always allows children to come from their place of authenticity, their inner authority, so that they can practice that, so they know what does it feel like to make decisions that have these certain outcomes. And they kind of, oh, okay, I can come back and do it. And where it comes into consent is this place of, an example might be helpful for this. Grandma comes to visit. She lives a long ways away, and it comes time for her to go. And come on over here and say goodbye to grandma. And little one doesn't want to, for whatever reason. Come and say goodbye to grandma. No, you need to put your things down and come and say goodbye to grandma. Look, she looks sad. Oh, you don't want her to feel sad, do you? What if she dies before she comes here again? No, what you need to do, this is more important right now. So all these ways we override a child's authority, their inner knowingness, their inner consent. And I say consent is a feeling. It doesn't matter what the words are, yes or no, it's a feeling. And so to allow children to keep coming back into from that place of what is true for them, that they don't need to look outside of themselves for that validation, whether it's a teacher, a parent, a preacher, their peers, they are there coming from this place. What is true for them in this moment? And keep encouraging them. What do you need right now? How can I support you? That's what it feels like to me is keep coming back from that inner peace. Because when we override that, they keep on going down the same road as so many of us have done is feeling not good enough, letting somebody else tell them what their body is to be used for, telling them what they are capable of doing. It's kind of like, no, what do you need? Who you, because we come from this infinite and um, potent energy, life force energy of who we are. And so to keep fueling that and letting them come from there and let them bypass who we are and what's possible.
There is so much power behind your words. Like, I want to go in so many directions right now. Wow. um, and I could speak on this one topic for hours with you. What it sounds like, though, is that there almost needs to be taught this safety, this consent before, or maybe in tandem with the openness and the creativity. But safety is something that needs to be taught as well from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it seems that the number one thing where the safety comes in, and after this is grounded in, you can actually let go of the word because safety gets to start inside, right? They have to feel safe in their own bodies, in their own choices, in their own knowing. Other than that, it just becomes this perpetual thing of it's outside that protect. It's kind of like, no, I'm at home in my body. And from there, it just becomes a, oh, no, I don't want to do that, mm, or, mm. So it's coming from inside.
Wow. I just see the root chakra and the sacral being right next to each other. Wow. Okay. Thank you so much. Again, I hope I get to do another one of these with you because there are so many more questions coming up. Um, so everyone I've spoken to on here is in alignment with their purpose or doing what they are called to create in this life, which it sounds very much like you too. Would you mind please sharing a little bit about your journey or how you discovered this path?
Mhm. For me, the sexual and the spiritual, those two journeys, which seemed separate at first, really have come back together. And coming from a religious background, this idea that sex fits in a certain container and in a certain context, and created a real disconnection in my body. Number one, it this idea of save yourself for marriage. Number one, it's kind of, oh, okay, there. So put sex out of my mind, not only with another person, but even connecting to my own sexuality. It also, what I took into the message is, oh, then my body is not mine. It's my body is not mine. My sexuality is not mine. My choice, my voice are not mine. It belongs to the marriage, it belongs to the husband, it belongs to the man. And so that just really created this environment for me to that's how I lived. Got married, was married to a beautiful man for 30 years. We had two beautiful children. We do have two beautiful children, daughters. And so it was very much a disconnection from my sexuality. And looking back on it now, over these 40 years ago when I got married, but looking back on this journey of how it was reinforced that outside, looking outside for to please, it was my job to be responsible for. And yeah, and so that really be when my girls left home, then it just really felt it was important for me to start to explore who am I as a sexual erotic being. Had my first, through the hiring of a masturbation coach, had my first orgasm at the age of 42. 5 years later, had my what I call my midlife sexual awakening, where it was just kind of like the guilt and the shame around and the self-loathing about this body and about sexuality just literally fell away. The lens is like it was this instantaneous 180 degree, and what was shameful and sinful now was kind of like life is erotic. This is pure, so good, so right. And then I took my teaching from what I taught in almost a decade in the school system and teaching energy work for almost a decade to now teaching in the for the last 15 years in the sexual erotic realm of things, of really helping people come back into a connection with their sexuality, and then bringing that back together, and that there's no outside, including that there's no outside in terms of divinity in us. It's just we all just come back home right to us, right to what's right here within, seeing and living and being right here.
That is so empowering, and I bet everyone that finds you appreciates so much the authenticity and the vulnerability that you share and provide yourself and your journey. I think that would play a huge part in
Mhm,
allowing others to open up as well. Um,
mhm.
all right, so Lorna, I know we touched on this a little bit earlier, but, and the question might sound a little strange to others, or I don't know, maybe in general, but how would you describe feeling? What, what to you does it mean to feel into things?
Mm. It's beautiful how children are really central in this conversation today. And again, no accidents. When we come in through sex, when we come into this world, here's this little baby that is um, nonverbal, doesn't, is taking in things first from eyes that don't focus. So this journey of seeing takes a while, but, taking things in through the senses, various things, and communicating. That child is just totally interacting with life through a felt sense. What we do in the humanizing of of our circumstances, our experience, is we start to now label things. So here's a cup, here's mommy, here's daddy, here's brother, here's a puppy, here's a giraffe, here's the tree, um, here's school, and oh, you're feeling sad, oh, you're feeling angry, you're feeling frustrated. We start to put these labels on, and it's beautiful because it creates a way to communicate, try to create a bit of a common lexicon, if you will, a way to interact. And interestingly, William Shakespeare's quote is, "A rose by any other name would smell as sweet, and if it didn't have the name rose, it would still smell as sweet." So it doesn't have to have the name to be what it is. So this idea of, I'll use anger because anger is a really big energy, and it's one that a lot of people are afraid of, a lot of people repress, deny. When we talk about I'm angry, we're actually not angry. There's a sensation, there's energy happening within, and we've just called it that. And when we say I'm angry, at some level, we're actually holding on to that word, which by holding on to it keeps us actually from feeling into it as fully as we can. So the feeling, true feeling, actually is beyond words. We're aware of, we're noticing what's happening, whether it's a physical sensation, whether it's what we call an emotion. And I was taught from 25 years ago in my energy training, and my mentor said, thought plus a feeling equals emotion. So you take what we're feeling, that sensation, we put a thought to it, there's kind of, oh, I'm feeling angry. No, that's just the label. Let's just let go of that. And I say, feel as fully as you can. Use your breath to feel it, because oftentimes when we don't want to feel something, we hold our breath. Feel as fully as you can and let that word, like a cloud, start to dissipate. And I remember even my mentor, she would write on the whiteboard, you know, anger. And she said, all it is, it's not anger, it's just these little squiggles. And even look, I can just erase it. It just crumbles like dust. So it's not anger that we're feeling this.
I'm curious if anyone listening can feel Lorna's energy in the way that I feel it even before we start talking, but your words are like as you're speaking, I also feel called to breathe at the time that you're explaining these emotions. It's so powerful and so beautiful. Um, you're truly gifted at describing and communicating emotions and somatic and I feel like
Thank you.
oh, I want to ask something, but I feel like we have time for one more question.
All right.
Um, just kind of very quickly, would you say that our words are what add judgment to our emotions, or do you think feeling has any room for judgment, or do you think judgment plays? Do judgment and feeling really belong in the same room together, or do they? I don't know how to explain that.
It's a really great question. It's a really great question. And energy in and of itself is just energy. It's the thoughts that we put to it. And judgment is thought. And what's actually interesting, when we think of judgment, we all, we think, here's these negative things. Let's think positive. But positive is judgment as well. We're judging that something is better than something else. So can we just, it is what it is.
Mm, thank you. I do want to sneak in one more question. I think we can.
Okay.
How does, because I'd like to just ask one question that ties into the sexology part of your work. How does bondage tie into empowerment and help others to feel open to expressing themselves?
Beautiful. Wow. And this is a really a huge, huge topic, and yet really can I can talk about it. So for people who aren't aware, bondage is a combination of bondage and erotic massage. And the way that I use it and teach it is really becomes a healing modality. It's talks about, and I'm going to talk in dichotomies here for a moment. I talk about empowering women and training or and training men. And some people kind of like, you know, but here's I'm going to take it down a little bit more. We've been taught this dichotomy of there's females, there's males. There's certain kind of bodies, there's certain energies. We can talk about feminine energies and masculine energies. And my work, every part of my work, no matter if it's bondage or the somatic sexology that I work with, the coaching, the mindset stuff, it's always about bringing us back into our wholeness. So the bondage really helps us to find out where the feminine part, where we as women perhaps have our power, our sexuality, and our leadership have been suppressed, tucked away like a golden treasure that's now being discovered. The males, on the other hand, have been taught, yeah, you're sexual, but don't feel emotional. And so it's this way for men to be able to let go and to feel, to not be in their heads, but to come back into and feel within their bodies. And so bringing these two together, it's a healing for everyone. And as we do it, it actually starts to bring people together so that they can actually live in and from the feminine and the masculine within themselves.
Love that. I love that. Wow, what a beautiful note to end things on, too. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
How how can others contact you? Or what is the best way for someone to reach out if they want to learn more about you and meet you?
Mhm. My website is currently just being rebuilt. Um, the two ways primarily are through my Facebook group, or pardon me, Facebook. I'm Lorna Gale there. And for women, I have a private Facebook group called Reclaiming Eden. And then and I'm in the process of making a group for men and a group for women and men, where we can really dive into this feminine led life and how does that bring the masculine and feminine. How does that look when we are operating from a dichotomy, and how do we bring that into harmony, this dance of harmony together? And then I also have a page on the Trusted Bodywork site where there's lots of different testimonials, and there's an access point there as well to connect into me, to me through there as well.
Amazing. And I will attach links to all of those websites in the description box on Spotify and YouTube, wherever this is posted, so people can reach you.
Okay,
I want to thank you so much
you're
for
welcome.
sharing
And
your.
you're very welcome. And I'm really feeling called to leave this. If I can just leave one little piece here,
Yeah.
as we were talking about going from outside of this dichotomy, the one piece is we think about female and male, about certain bodies, and we think about feminine energy and masculine energy. And yeah, there's feminine yin and yang, and there's masculine yin and yang. We don't always talk about that. But we don't also recognize that looking at feminine as flow or energy and masculine as structure, that every one of us in our divinity in this human experience, we are all here right now because form is masculine. We're in form. No matter what the body is, that's form. That's our masculine part. That life force, that energy, that breath, that energy, that's the feminine. All of us right here are totally in our wholeness through the feminine and masculine in these bodies.
Wow.
Just wanted to drop that in so that we could just really bring it home.
That one just sunk down to the core. Thank you. Thank you so much. Um, I really can't leave it on a better note than that. But so
Thank you.
thank you, Lorna. And if anyone has any questions they'd like us to speak about next time, or again, reach out to Lorna. Have a beautiful day.
Thanks to all of our listeners.